this is Scott Laird with the Dario. Some people wonder, well, why do I need to loosen or tighten the bow when I get my bow in and out of the case, when I put my instrument away for the day? And the bottom line is this, is that there is a lot of tension that a tightened bow places on the stick of the bow. You'll even notice that there's sort of a bend in the bow, a little bit of a bend in the bow, and we're creating that tension by tightening the bow. If you leave a bow tightened for extended periods of time, the tendency for the bow is for that bend to sort of stay. And you don't want that to be the case. That's what creates the tension in the bow, or the bow can actually warp if we leave it tightened. So you really do need to get in the habit of loosening the bow when you're finished playing each day and tightening it when you're ready to get started. But how much? That's the age-old question. How much and how? Well, tightening and loosening the bow is really quite easy, first of all. It's all done with this apparatus at the end of the bow, the screw. And quite simply, when you turn the screw counterclockwise, the bow gets looser. And when you turn the screw clockwise, the bow gets tighter. The old righty-tighty, lefty-loosey rule does apply here. I typically recommend that you hold the frog and then turn the bow. I hold the frog with my left hand, turn the screw with my right hand. Now, how much? Well, let's start with loose. I typically recommend that students loosen the hair enough that it gets much closer to the stick without the hair sort of separating. If I loosen it so much that the hair is sort of all separated, I don't really think that that's necessary at all. So I recommend that we simply get that hair of the bow really close to the stick. And that's a nice loose bow. It essentially has taken the tension off of the stick for storage until the next time that I'm ready to play. Okay? Now, when it's time to tighten the bow, and you can watch as I tighten the bow, the hair is going to pull farther away from the stick the tighter the bow gets. Now there's a lot of tension on this bow. In fact, I've actually tightened this bow here way too far to the point where that stick is almost straight and that hair is really pulled away from the stick. This is actually way too tight. So I'm going to loosen it back up, and I'm going to show you about where I like it to be for when I play. When I'm playing, I like the hair to be about the same distance from the stick as the width of the stick. So if you look there, and if you can picture another stick in between the stick and the hair, that for me is just about perfect. Too tight creates a situation where your bow will bounce all over the place, and it's very hard to control a bow that's too tight. Too loose when you're playing creates a situation that there's really no resiliency to the bow, and it's really hard to get a nice tone out of your instrument with a bow that's too loose. So we're going to put it just about there, where the width of space between the stick and the hair is just about that of another stick. Now, some teachers tell students to maybe make it about the width of their pinky, which is another way to think of it, but I don't usually do that because what I find is then students get to sticking their hands up all over the bow hair, and I really try to avoid touching the bow hair because the oils from your hand can get on that bow hair, and it makes it less likely to really hang on to the rosin that you put on there. So let me just suggest that that width of a stick is a perfect way to think of it. We're going to play with it at that level, and then when we're done, I'm going to loosen that back up to about this position where the tension is off the stick, but the hair is still holding together at some level, and we're ready to store it for the night.